All right, welcome back. This is CNN special live coverage, 10:31 a.m. on the East Coast. Why am I giving you the time? Well, if you managed to sleep last night, things changed. You may have gone to bed thinking this election was headed one way, and then you woke up and you saw things were different and maybe trending increasingly in another direction. Phil Mattingly at the Magic Wall, you've got a neat tool to show this.
Yeah, look, so this is the map right now, right? We've been talking about this for the last several hours. It shifted in the last several hours, but what was happening beforehand? You can talk to a lot of people who, if they were big Trump fans, big Trump supporters, went to bed probably pretty happy. Big Biden supporters, not super happy. So let's kind of track through this. I want to walk through how things have changed. This is at 1 a.m. in the morning. Look at Nevada, look at Wisconsin, look at Michigan, look at Pennsylvania. Well, just keep Pennsylvania where it is. Flip to 2. All of a sudden, Nevada flips. All of a sudden, Wisconsin starts to flip. Sorry, this is 5 a.m. This is 5 a.m. One more, Michigan as well. So I'll take all these off, and I want to watch it again, because just the progression throughout the night, as we were live on television talking about this as it happened, as things looked very, very good for the Trump campaign, particularly in the Midwest, Pennsylvania into the Midwest, Nevada as well. So we're waiting for a vote to come in. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 9:05 a.m. and you just watched it. And we talked about the progression over the last several hours. The progression in Wisconsin, the progression in Michigan, the progression that may be happening in Pennsylvania.
There's a reason for it. Explain.
Yes. So look, the best way to do this, let me turn this off for a second, is I want to open the state of Ohio. We've done this a couple times, and I think this is just the best demonstration. Because for a lot of people who were paying attention early in the night, they were looking at Ohio, and they were looking at the turnout in Ohio, they were looking at the suburbs of Ohio, and they were saying, think back to 2016, Ohio. Donald Trump looked like he took it off the swing state map. I'm an Ohioan. I was stunned by the margin in the state of Ohio. And early in the night, as the early vote was counted and released by Ohio, it looked like this was going to turn blue. Maybe had a chance to turn blue, but at least narrow tremendously. This is what happened. Looks pretty familiar.
Same
right?
thing as last time.
Happened in North Carolina as well to some degree, saw it a little bit in Georgia, somewhat in Florida. Basically, it was what kind of vote you were counting when dictated what this was going to look like. So that was Ohio. We have seen the inverse over the course of the last several hours with these states, with Wisconsin, with Michigan. Right now, Pennsylvania is still red, but starting to shift as well. Why is that? They counted Election Day vote first, in-person vote first. That, throughout the course of the night, throughout the course of the country, east to west, skewed heavily Republican. And that was by design. President Trump worked on that in-person. They blew out their in-person goals almost across the country. What was left? Well, the opposite of what was happening in Ohio. What was left was early vote. How did early vote skew? Very heavily Democratic. Where did it come from? Largely urban population centers, largely suburbs. In other words, Democratic strongholds in these two states, and we're still watching as it happens in Pennsylvania. Just a couple of hours ago, Pennsylvania was about 630,000 votes. 630,000 votes. 550,000 is still a huge mountain to climb for Joe Biden.
But it's 80,000 less.
But it's 80,000 less, and that has happened in the course of an hour. And why is that happening? Because mail-in ballots are coming in, more than 1 million mail-in ballots outstanding, in large part from southeastern Pennsylvania, Democratic stronghold, Allegheny County, Democratic stronghold. So that's the progression. That's why it happened. That's why you had, sometimes it looked red and then all of a sudden it flipped blue, sometimes vice versa. Nothing's wrong, nothing's different. What's different about this election is when things are being counted.
We want to bring in now David Axelrod, Abby Phillip, and election law analyst Rick Pildes. Guys, I know you were just listening to that. Ax, I was just doing a little back of the envelope math. Maybe you can help check mine. So 1 million, yeah, that's what I meant, back of the envelope. So 1 million plus votes still to be counted. Trump is ahead of Biden by 543,000. Biden has been getting about 70% of the mail-in ballots. So Biden still has a good chance in Pennsylvania?
Well, yeah, I think everybody recognizes that. And that's why, the Trump campaign has been so active in trying to question some of the ballots and how some of the ballots are being handled, because they know that these numbers may not pencil out for them. And yeah, Pennsylvania is very much in play this morning.
Okay, so
Allison,
Rick,
can I just
go
just
ahead,
to
Abby.
add to that, just because what we should really parse carefully what we're hearing from both of the campaigns. What the Trump campaign is saying about Pennsylvania is that they think that out of those outstanding votes, the margins are going to be tighter for Donald Trump. They're not saying necessarily that they think that if things remain the way that they are, they can they can maintain their lead. So they're hoping that the margins narrow. But if they don't, I think you're right, and David's right, that this is why the Biden campaign is more confident that they will pull out in Pennsylvania. It's also why for the Trump campaign, Arizona becomes so critically important. They need it if they're going to lose Pennsylvania to keep their hope alive.
And maybe,
go
ahead, Alex.
Allison, let me just respond to something Abby said. You know, they had a press briefing this morning, and they insisted that they will win Arizona and Nevada, and they had to do that because if you concede Arizona and Nevada, which I think will clarify themselves in the next many hours, then Pennsylvania becomes irrelevant. As important as it is with its 20 electoral votes, it becomes irrelevant because it's clear that Michigan and Wisconsin are drifting in the other direction. So I think that they are trying to hold their place and tell everyone this is still doable. And they're insisting on that. We'll see when the cards are turned over in Vegas and elsewhere later today.
In the meantime, Rick, you're already seeing legal challenges cropping up in Pennsylvania?
Yes, there are already at least 3 lawsuits in Pennsylvania. One has gotten a lot of attention because it's been pending for quite a while now, and that's the one that went to the Supreme Court once already, which is this 3-day extension for the receipt deadline for the absentees, which the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ordered. So we are going to have to see how many ballots come in that 3-day window. Could they affect the outcome if the margin is so tight in Pennsylvania? That case is absolutely going back to the Supreme Court if that margin is close enough to possibly make a difference. Now, the court has twice had a chance to stop that extension. It declined to do it both times. It didn't issue a stay. It didn't expedite this case. So voters in Pennsylvania have good reason to believe it's valid for them to have cast those ballots and returned them within that 3-day window after Election Day. But that obviously is a big issue. And the second thing is there have been inconsistencies in how state officials are handling some of these absentee ballots. The Secretary of State has issued unclear guidance, in my view. That opens up further challenges. There are challenges like that in the court. I don't know that they'll affect as many ballots, potentially, as the ballots that come in that 3-day window. But, Pennsylvania, I have to say, Pennsylvania has done an incredibly sloppy job in this election. It's been clear for a long time. It's a massive failure of political leadership in that state on both the Democratic governor's side and the Republican legislature side. And the country is now put in this position where we have 50% of the absentee ballots still to count in Pennsylvania. Now we do have to wait, we have to be patient, but we shouldn't be here in the first place.
So we're just getting a report that the Biden campaign says that Joe Biden will address Americans today. Axe, what do you think he should say?
Well, I mean, I think you're going to hear him talk about where the state of play is, and I'm sure a very strong rebuke of the president for what he did last night. Essentially claiming victory, knowing that these numbers were going to turn, claiming victory and alleging that anything that changes the result would be fraud, and declaring that he wanted to stop the voting, as he said, as if we are in some authoritarian state. So I think that Biden he's probably going to reassure the country that the process is going forward, that we're going to have an answer.